Good afternoon, and ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is safe and taking care. My name is Kashika Charbar from Nuremberg, Messe, India, and I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you at the A.B.I.S Knowledge Summit. Asia's broadcasting and infotainment show comprises of the Broadcast India Show, SCAT India Trade Show, and Content India Show. At the A.B.I.S Knowledge Summit, we look forward to bringing to you engaging panel discussions, interesting fireside chats, and interactive product demos today and tomorrow. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you who are just joining us, and welcome back to those of you who have tuned in since morning. We hope you all are enjoying the interesting sessions we have had till now. Moving on to our next and last session for the day, Teleste 4x4, the next generation versatile modular digital headend by Mr. Kurt Nielsen, Senior Director, Channel Sales VAR Partner Program, Hospitality Nordics India, China, and Latam Networks, Teleste Corporation. To introduce Mr. Nielsen, I would like to invite Mr. Jignesh Mehta, founder of Mehta Infocom Pvt Limited, to say a few words. Mr. Mehta leads the Mehta Group by planning, developing, implementing ambitious business strategies, along with evaluating the company's financial, operational, sales, and marketing structures to plan for constant improvements and operating efficiencies. Just one note to all our attendees, we will have a Q&A session at the end of this. So please send us your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Mr. Mehta, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Namaste. So, as this was a good gesture by SCAT and Mr. Madhavan, so I first of all thank you, the SCAT team, Mr. Madhavan, and the team to organize such an event. So, last 18 months were very tough for almost everyone, and especially CATV industry. But I suppose there was a blessing in disguise for broadband service providers and ISPs, because lots of things were happening for digital movement. So in Meta, basically we are helping our customers, our LCOs and ISPs and MSOs, or rather you can say service providers, to help them delivering content. Let it be DVB-C, let it be internet, let it be telecom grade signals. So basically, in CATV, we are mainly associated for Teleste is an international brand, and we have some different other products also in the name of Innotech, and in transcoding, we are associated with Harmonix also. So 4x4 model, what Mr. Kurt is going to say is lots of things about us, has been deployed to India in the mid of the pandemic only, last year in some mid of 2020 or so. So it has got a very good response, and more things would be shared by Mr. Kurt, my very good close associate and a friend also. And apart from that, in Meta, we are associated with Huawei, Bidicom, Redwin, Mimosa, and TP-Link and other products where we provide end-to-end solution to our customers, and I would rather say our associates. So definitely, and just to edit upon that, we are there with telecom people also to serve their network, like all the three private players, and fourth BSNL, that is Geo, Idea, Vodafone, and Airtel, and BSNL, for their maintenance and building up their networks and maintaining their networks. So I think that I will hand it over to Mr. Kurt, but before that, I would like to introduce to him introduction for himself. That Teleste Corporation, in fact, it was founded in 1954, I suppose, and it's a very good, it's a very much prominent player into European and North American market, and in India also. We are associated with Teleste since last around say 12 to 13 years, approximately 13 years. So Mr. Kurt leads the market development activities in India and China and SAARC region. and he has also got the curious fun of around, say, 30 years or so. And he's very much having a good face value into Europe and especially into India since last more than around, say, 4 years or so. So, Mr. Kurt,
Yes,
over to you.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jignesh, for presenting me, and thank you for the opportunity, both from Mehta Infocom and SCAT, for this opportunity to present our products. It's very nice to attend this seminar. Unfortunately, at the moment, there is a lot of virtual ones. Hopefully, we soon will be able to also meet physically, going to exhibitions again. But I must say this time has been very has surprised me a bit that it has been working so good with these digital meetings, and the world is now much more mature to use these meeting facilities for the future as well. But still, I think it's good if we can get back to meet face to face. Okay, I will now try to share my screen. Let's hope it's working. Okay. So again, thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation. I will try to not go too detailed, but we'll try to make a presentation so you understand after this presentation what Luminato 4x4 is about, and what kind of modules and application it can be used for. So let's start. I will shortly tell a little bit about Teleste. Jignesh was already introducing this a little bit. I will keep it quite short as well, so we can focus on the maybe more interesting content about Luminato 4x4. And then I made this agenda for my presentation. So first I will talk about Teleste, as I said, and then I will go into the Luminato 4x4 platform, talk about the concept and functions, configuration and management, encryption and decryption, and also the technical description where we show more the hardware bits and pieces so you understand how it looks. We will also talk more deeply about the modules one by one, where we talk about service acquisition and IP streamers, IP multiplexer and QAM modulators, and also some processing modules. And I will finalize it with talking more about the EdgeQAM application, which we have been deploying in quite big scale in India. And naturally, there will be an opportunity to ask questions later on, as informed. So I will be happy to answer all of those, and let's hope you have a lot of questions. So let's continue. Teleste, we are a European supplier based in Finland, and on this picture you can see the head office in Finland. It's a small city called Littoinen. We have been around, as Jignesh was saying, since '54, so more than 65 years of experience in video headend and broadband access industry. So it has been, we are coming from the old analog world to the digital world, and now we are going to the IPTV world. All the product is designed and made in Finland. We also have actually nowadays combined. So in this building you see on the picture, we have all the manufacturing, R&D, and the global support team is there as well. In the past we had several locations, but we actually made this, we was actually expanding our building in one place instead, and we have seen that this is giving us a lot of advantages because we have this kind of short communication ways to discuss and develop new products. Our approach, we normally address both MSOs direct, and we also work with partners in many parts of the network. So we have around 100 local partners around the world, which is helping out with local support and local sales in the different countries. In India, we actually are working via our value-added reseller, Mehta Infocom, which you already have met. So we have been doing that for quite many years. I don't remember myself because I had a colleague who was taking care of India in the past, but I think it's like over 10 years, maybe even 15 years, we have been working with the Mehta Infocom in India. Yeah, I think that was shortly about Teleste. Let's go into the Luminato 4x4 platform. And by the way, on this picture, you can actually see the Teleste headquarters in Finland. So I will start with the Luminato 4x4 and the concept and functions. So Luminato as a brand has been available since 2008. So for many years, a decade at least. And it has been working well, but at some point we saw that the growth of number of channels and also the change from format to 4K, 8K even, means that we need more processing power in the Luminato platform. And there was a decision made at some point that we have to develop a new platform for the next decade. And that is now available, and it's called Luminato 4x4. It was launched in 2020, December 2020. So it's a new platform. We have actually a new hardware design with higher processing power, as I talked about. But we have used all the knowledge and all the experience from the web user interface and software design from our older platform. So it's not a brand new platform from that point of view. From software point of view, it's a really a proven solution with proven stability. We have also updated the cybersecurity in this one, and it's working continuously with this one because we see more and more that this is requested. Sorry? Okay, I heard somebody in the background. Yeah, we see that more and more requirements from our customers that cybersecurity is more and more important. And that's why we are focusing also on this one. Naturally, also Luminato 4x4 is designed for 24/7 support and uninterrupted operation. Thing which also is good with Luminato, which we have been using for many years, is that we have a conformal coating. So it means that every module and card is actually coated with this kind of coating, which ensures that the humidity, dust, and pollution is not affecting this one. And that is also, we believe, one thing which has been a reason why Luminato has been working so very good in also quite rough conditions. Another thing which is maybe not the case for all vendors is that all modules we are making is tested individually, and we also have own test report for every module we are making. And that also comes to that we have also a very high reliability on this one. So we have very good values, and It's like some customers say, we just install it and then we forget it. It's just working. So that we are happy to hear. I will talk a little bit about Luminato 4x4 in brief, about the functions to start with. On general level, I will go into more details later on. So if we look on the network interfaces, we have in this new platform 4 10 gig SFP plus interfaces and 4 times gig Ethernet 1 gig interfaces. We also have the possibilities for 2 power supplies, and we have both 230 volts and minus 48 volt options. The platform supports 6 slots where we can freely select input and output and processing modules. And also to really be able to use this in tough conditions, we have 6 pieces of high performance fans cooling this platform now. All the modules, it's hot swappable. And from encryption point of view, we are supporting DVB CSA and AES IP encryption scrambling. We also support over 30 different CAS systems. And as also in the old Luminato, naturally, the DVB, PSI, SI protocols is supported. And also we support some ATSC, PSI, IP tables. We see also more and more that these high availability features like redundancy is more and more important. So this is something we are focusing much more now in Luminato 4x4. About the functionalities, what can I do with this platform? So on the input, we have modules where you can actually receive DVB-S, DVB-S2, DVB-S2X, DVB-T, DVB-T2, and DVB-C. In the same module, we can actually receive NXB, ISDBT, and IPN, and also ASI with another card. So many of these receivers is actually multi-service receivers, multi-standard receivers, sorry. Which means that you actually can receive many different kind of formats. We can also do the scrambling, we can do the multiplexing, and we can do the encryption in the platform. In also the receivers, actually. So, for example, when we are playing out as IP, then we can actually also encrypt the signals in the receivers. We can have up to 24 receivers in this chassis, and we can have 12 CI slots for CAM modules in one chassis. On the output, we can do DVB-C and NXB, DVB-T, ISDBT, IP, and ASI. IP is always a default option in Luminato. I will come back to that later on. Also here, we have many features like multiplexing, scrambling, and modulation. And in one chassis, we can have up to 168 QAMs on the output, and it will be later on upgrade to 192 QAMs. I will come back to that as well later on in the presentation. For DVB-T and ISDBT, we can have 24 muxes played out from the Luminato 4x4. We also have some processing modules for different kind of applications. We have an EPG module. We have a Verimatrix bulk descrambler. We have a Pro MPEG application module, which is actually a Linux PC. So all this I will come back to later on in the presentation. But this is the overview over what can be done with the platform and what functionalities you have in the platform. How do we manage this device? So we have actually multiple options to manage Luminato 4x4. We have different interfaces. We have in the front, we have actually monitoring LEDs, which is indicating the status of the device and the modules. We have a web UI, we have a command line interface, and we have something we call a RESTful API, which is actually a machine-to-machine protocol where you can actually also connect this to like a third-party management system where you can make more tailored actions and monitoring of the Luminato 4x4. I will look into this now a little bit more detailed. The main user interface, what we use to configure our services, is the graphical user interface. I will also show that a little bit more in detail in some next slides. Here we have actually made it very easy for users to configure the services and get the right channels and services to the right outputs. It's based on drag and drop functionalities. We have also picked the most used features in this user interface to be able to make it even easier for the users to use Luminato 4x4. But if someone prefers to use the command line interface called CLI, which is used in many other kind of Ethernet devices, routers and switches, this is here as well. And here we also have some more advanced features if needed to make some kind of advanced support and those kind of things. If you cannot, if you don't have all the features in the graphical user interface, then you can actually find some advanced features in the CLI. And it's also more powerful, and we also have online help available in that one. So this is also a little bit matter of preference. Some people use the graphical user interface. Some people like to use the CLI because they are more used to use that in other kind of devices. But we have both options. And again, this API for integration with machine-to-machine communication. Then we have I will now go more detailed into the web user interface of Luminato. And for those who has been using Luminato classical chassis in the past, will recognize themselves because the user interface design is exactly the same. So we have three different fields. On the first, I should start with. We have three different views. We have a monitor view, we have a service view, and we have administration view. And on this color indications, you can also see how each module is working. So each of these 6 LEDs or bars is standing for one module each. And this is the other yellow one is for the chassis. So in this case, we actually have selected to focus on the service configuration. And that means that we see this view with 3 fields. We have on the left here, we have the services. So now I have selected output here. So now I can see all the services we are playing out. if I select the input here from this scroll menu, then I can select all the services we are receiving. Then in the middle view here, I have here my input modules, and on the right view here, I have my output modules and IP interfaces. So what I do when I configure here with the drag and drop feature is that I just click on the module I use, in this case, quad receiver, and then I would click actually on one of these receivers, and then I will get the service names of the channels, and then I can just mark them and drag them over here to the right output. But this is the way it works, how you configure Luminato. Okay, it looks very easy, and the people who has been working with DVB and PSI tables and those kind of things, they wonder naturally, well, how can it be that easy? But Luminato actually is an intelligent device. So in the behind, when we are actually dragging the service to the output, all this kind of reconfiguration is done by Luminato in the background. So you will not see that. For example, if I take a satellite channel and I play it out, that's a DVB-C channel, it means that Luminato will reconfigure those tables so it fits to a DVB-C format. With that, I will move to encryption and decryption. This is a big thing, naturally, and we start with the receiving side of Luminato when you use also our receivers. We always recommend to use so-called professional CAM modules when you decrypt your channels. So this is the companies we are recommending, we are working with. So we work with Smith, Aston, Smart TV, and Neocean. So this is what we recommend, and the reason we started to recommend this was many years ago. There was more challenge with using this kind of more cheaper CAM modules, which was having some limitations many times, and therefore we have selected to work only with this one and recommend only these known brands for that one. As I mentioned before, Luminato works and is up and running with over 30 different CA systems. In the past, it was quite a big thing when you introduce a new CA system to Luminato, but I must say, last 5-8 years, it is not so big deal. It seems like the CA systems is so standardized nowadays, so it is not a problem, and we have actually customers who is introducing new CS system to Luminato without any kind of proof of concept with Teleste or any heavy testing with us. So this standard is quite solid nowadays. And Luminato, we also have support for bulk decryption of varimatrix, conditional access, and in Luminato we can actually, with the cardless decryption, support up to 300 service in one chassis. One application for this is, for example, if you have like an IP backbone, which many operators have, and they maybe want to decrypt these channels to like a local area or a hotel, then they can actually, without using smart cards, they can actually use Luminato to have a decryption without using any smart cards. And you can go up to 300 servers in one chassis. As I said, DVB CSA is supported. AES encryption is also supported. Actually, encryption performance is actually designed according to Indian market requirements. Since India is having so many CAS systems operating simultaneously, we have also, when we designed Luminato 4x4, been focusing on this one. And today, Luminato 4x4 can support up to 10 CA systems simultaneously. And this is the vendors, the encryption vendors we have been working with, and which is now running on Luminato 4x4. So as you see, quite many of those is here, both well-known and maybe not that known. Okay, so let's go to the platform and a little bit more hardware technical details. This is how the Luminato 4x4 front looks like. It's one RU, 19-inch. It's a little bit deeper than the previous Luminato classical one. So this is 420 millimeter deep. We have network interfaces on front. We have 4 SFP plus slots here, where we can use optical interfaces like single mode or multi-mode SFPs. On the right here, we have built in also 1 gigabit electrical interfaces, where one of those is reserved for management, but on the other 3, you can use them as for payload. We have in the front here changed a little bit from the Luminato Classical. So now we have a honeycomb structure front plate. And the reason for that is that when we now have been introducing more processing power, we also need more cooling. So that's why we have been also changing the front of this one 4x4 compared with the older Luminato. So we need more cooling for this version. We have also increased the number of fans in Luminato. So now we have 6 pieces of those, which you actually can change if needed while operating the Luminato without any interruption. Yeah. If we go to the back of Luminato, we have 6 slots for modules. You can actually place the modules in any slot of those, so you don't have to place them in any certain place, so that you can select freely. We have also dual power supply connectors. So here you can select to use either 2 AC connectors for backup, or you can have 2 where you have 1 DC or 1 AC, or 2 DC connectors. So this is something which has to be decided from the beginning and ordered from Teleste. So this is something you select and is changed in factory. We also have so-called I/O connectors for 1+1 backup, and also other external signals. And we have the chassis grounding point on the behind here. So this was the hardware. So let's go to the functional blocks so you understand which options there is. This will now be a little bit more on the block diagram version. So in the Luminato chassis itself, we have 1 host processor, which is cooled by 2 fans. We have, as I said, 6 module slots. We can have 1 power supply, and that every power supply is cooled by 2 fans. And if you have 1+1 backup, you have 2 power supplies. We have 4 SFP plus SFP slots in the chassis. In the chassis for the routing, we have a 10 gig switch, which has connection direct to every module. We also have here the 4 1 gig interfaces, which is inbuilt, which is connected to the 1 gig interface. Sorry, the 1 gig switch. So we have connection between the modules and the 1 gig switch. So for some of the modules, the limitation is 1 gig. So that is connected with 1 gig switch. But we also have naturally connection between the 1 gig and 10 gig switch in the chassis. And we have a mini USB connector. This is normally not that often used. It is used if you need to have like a local connection to the CLI if there is any problem with your user interface or anything like that. So then you can actually connect direct to the processor. This mini USB is also used sometimes by our service department for going in, and if somebody has forgot their password to Luminato, then our service department can help on that one. But normally that is not used that often. High availability features. As I said, Luminato 4x4 has 1+1 redundancy. So here you can see that we have 2 power supplies. We also have input stream redundancy. So it means that if one of the streams is having problems, it can connect to another stream. And this is the view from the web user interface. So here you see you can select what mux you want to have redundancy for. You can select trigger. You can select how soon it should recover, and you can select also if it should be automatically or manually. So this is so here you have all the settings where you can select the way you want to have the redundancy working. We also have 1+1 hardware redundancy on the chassis level. So this is a very simple way to get redundancy. You just have 2 chassis and you just connect a heartbeat cable between them. And that means that you have 1+1 redundancy without any external management software or any other third-party hardware controller. So this will be, the 1+1 redundancy will then be handled by the Luminato chassis itself. As I said, we are working much more with these features because we see more and more that reliability is really a key feature of Luminato. So we will introduce a new feature in the December release, software release. So we will have N+1 backup within the chassis for LDM QAM module. So it means that you can have like, if you have 2 dense QAM modules, you can actually have one which is main, which is operational, and you can have another one which is backup in the same chassis. We will also introduce port redundancy and its roadmap to be ready in Q2 2022. And then we go to the modules. We start with the receivers and IP streamers. We have two models here, quad module and dual module, which is so-called multi-standard receivers. So they actually support all these interfaces like I was talking about in the beginning of the presentation. And then we also have a pure free-to-air satellite receiver where you can receive free-to-air channels, 1, 2, 3, 4 ports input on the input without any descrambling possibilities. So if you have encrypted services, you need to select either the quad receiver or the dual receiver. We also have a ASI input, quad ASI input module. And for IP services, we can actually decrypt them with help of this dual IP receiver, where you actually can decrypt and demultiplex the services. Then we go to the IP multiplexer and QAM modulators, the output modules. First, we have a module we call LIM-A. This is an IP multiplexer and streamer. You can have 60 IP, SPTS or MPTS inputs and outputs. We support UDP, RTP, and it's either BBR or CBR. Variable bitrate or constant bitrate. We also have the dense QAM modulator, where you actually can have up to 28 independent QAMs, but that will be later on 32 in December software release. But we have different steps, but it starts in 12 and it can have it up to 28. We also have a quad multiplexer for 4 QAMs. We also have a multiplexer modulator to play out CO of TM, so DVB-T. And for those markets who is using ISDBT, like in Latin America, we also have an ISDBT modulator. And here you can have 4 adjacent COFTMs on the output. And we naturally can play out as ASI as well. We have also these processing modules, EPG, ProMPEG-FEC, Barometrics, Multi Scrambler, and application module. So this is how the EPG module looks like. And with this one, you can actually import EPG data in XML-TV format, and you can export it to be used in another third-party environment. We also have an application module, which is actually like a Linux PC, where a customer can actually install their own software. Some middleware companies has been installing their middleware into this one, and there is some CA vendors who has installed their CAS system into this one. So then you can actually have a complete Luminato, also including the encryption with that we installed. ProMPEG-FEC module is a module which is used for when you connect via internet to a headend, and you don't have any option for like having a dedicated connection between the headend and the remote headend. So this FEC actually can help you to get fault error correction to improve the situation. And it can also be used for as a streamer for IP address conversion. And here we have the multi scrambler, which I talked about before. Okay, so then we have the EdgeQAM application. So the Luminato 4x4 EdgeQAM has really been a success story for us. Luminato Classical has been around for like 10, 12 years, but now we introduce a new platform, and that has been well adopted by big operators and MSOs. So a lot of operators we have been talking with, and they have selected to use Luminato 4x4. And one of the reasons is naturally that there is quite many platforms on the market which is end of life or close to end of life, and Luminato 4x4 is like a brand new platform ready for next 10, 15 years. Okay, when we talk about EdgeQAM, this is how the EdgeQAM architecture looks like. So we have a main headend where you can use Luminato as well. Here we can do service acquisition, multiplexing, content protection, and IP streaming. And all these services then is transmitted out on the IP backbone. Then on each remote headend, you can then have an EdgeQAM where you receive the content in IP format and convert it to QAM, which you can play out in your cable TV network. There is different operation modes you can use actually also in EdgeQAM environment. The operation modes is selectable per MUX, and first we have like a transparent pass-through mode. So it means this is very suitable when you have a main headend and remote EdgeQAM system. So it means more or less that you are making all the packages and tables ready when already in the main headend, and then Luminato 4x4 will just work as a conversion from IP to QAM output. Many big operators is using this model because it is easier to configure the network, because they only make the configuration in the main headend, and they don't have to make individual configuration in the local EdgeQAMs. Then we have the service pass-through mode. It means that you can have local multiplexing, but you still can have, for some MUXes, a transparent pass-through mode. This is when you use this is when you require bit insertion, when you want to have a different channel lineup in your local network, then is informed from the main headend. And then we have the full multiplexing mode. It means that you can also in the local EdgeQAM do free remultiplexing. You can actually place the channels and services however you want on the outputs of the QAM modules. And you maybe also want to, in some cases, change encryption. Because this is the three modes which can be selected in the EdgeQAM device to get the functionality that you are looking for. So some highlights. Payload, 4 gigabits plus 1 gigabit on the dense modulator. 1024 IP inputs. 28 multiplexers in one module. And it will be 32. 28 frequency agile QAM modulators in one module, up to 28 IP outputs for mirroring. So in the QAM modulator, you can actually also route the multiplexers back if you, for example, want to play out that on another IP output, then you can do that in parallel. DVB-C and J83 NXP support, that we told. And also on the RF output, you can use it for 85 to 900 megahertz, but if you want to have up to 1 gigahertz, then you can actually select to have another frequency window which starts with 100 and then goes up to 1000 megahertz. On the output, we have 110 dB microvolt, complying to the cable labs requirement for QAM signals. And as I have been informing here, it will be supporting up to 32 QAMs December 2021. We are in our mode to release this very soon. So hopefully within mid-November, you will be able to order also the 32 QAM version. Summary: network interfaces, 44 gigabits capacity in the chassis, 2 power supply slots inside chassis, 6 slots for input-output processing modules, 192 QAMs December 21. All the modules is hot swappable. DVB, CSA SIM encrypt, and AES encryption is supported. We support up to 10 CAS. High availability options. We have today 1+1 power supply. Backup. We have input stream redundancy. We have 1+1 hardware redundancy for the chassis. In December, we will have N+1 LDM module redundancy. And in Q2 2022, we will have port redundancy in Luminato 4x4. Thank you for listening. Hope this presentation gives you a good overview over Luminato and the features and functionalities we can provide with this. So thanks for now, and I suppose we are ready for Q&A soon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nielsen. Let's get to some questions from our attendees. I would like to introduce Mr. Manoj Madhavan, editor of Satellite and Cable TV Magazine, the official publication for SCAT India Trade Show, who will be moderating the Q&A session for us today. Manoj, over to you.
I think we have overshot our time. So I have time to take just a couple of questions, Mr. Kurt.
Yes.
The first question I would like to ask you is 4x4, does that mean it supports 24x4 cards? So 96 TS max, or can go up to 24x6 cards, so 144 TS?
No, that's not correct. So as I told, Luminato has 6 slots where you can have 32 QAMs in each module from December. So it means that you can have 192 QAMs out from the Luminato 4x4 when we have the December release. Yeah.
So when we are having multiple gig ports, is it possible to get 2 different output for 2 different locations?
Yes, it's possible. You can route that, and you can play out on 2 different locations. Yeah.
I'll come to the last question. Is the dense module hot swappable? Can we back up and restore configuration of particular card?
Yes, it's hot swappable. Actually, the configuration is stored on the chassis. So if one dense modulator would break or have an error, then you actually can just pull it out and replace it with a new one. And then actually the new module will actually pick up the configuration from the chassis.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kurt.
You're
I
welcome.
think that's all from my end. Over to you, Kashika.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nielsen and Manoj, for that truly interesting and insightful session. And I'm sure our audience had a lot to take away. It has been an extremely fulfilling day with lots of knowledge sharing with industry experts. And we at the A.B.I.S Knowledge Summit and the SCAT India Trade Show would like to thank all of you for logging in today.